Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Transformation Talk. I am here today with Maryann Hesse of MaryannHesse.com. She is a relationship clarity coach and personal power expert, an intuitive energy healer, an inspirational speaker, and the owner of Optimum Wellness Incorporated. Thank you so much for being here, Maryann.
Thank you for having me. This is quite a pleasure for me.
I'm really excited to talk with you. You have a couple of things that we're going to talk about today. But first, let me ask you a little bit about your story. What is it that led you to doing the work you do today?
Well, Alana, as a teenager, I had a rather traumatic experience, which I'm sure many people did. But when I was 16, my boyfriend decided all of a sudden that he didn't love me anymore, and it devastated me. And I didn't know how to handle it. You know, back then there weren't counselors and coaches and all these kinds of things. And my mother was less than sympathetic. We never had a very close relationship either. So I was so traumatized by that my body kind of shut down. I didn't have periods for like 3 months. Wow. Because I was just so upset. And my mother, in her infinite wisdom at the time, thought, oh, well, the reason must be because you're pregnant, you know. And, you know, at that time in my life, I didn't have any clue as to how that even happened for people. I was back in, this was the 50s, 60s, when, you know, I didn't even talk about that kind of thing. But she made me go to the doctor to prove to her that I was not. And that just added to the trauma, the anxiety, and the angst that I was going through, the pain. And it cemented something deep in me that really scarred me for the rest of my life. It was not a pleasant experience. And then for the next 20 years, I just was still grieving the loss of this person in my life. And it affected my marriage. I was married for 10 years, and it didn't work. I just didn't know who I was, and I really wasn't in love with my husband, you know, because I was so in love with that first person. It just, I hadn't dealt with it and didn't know how. I tried to bury it. I tried to be happy, and on the outside, oh, I'm fine, but I really wasn't fine. So after my divorce, I struck out on my own. I quit my teaching job, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I just traveled to the Southwest and started my spiritual journey there, really tuning into who I am. And I was prompted by the universe because not long after I moved, my body went down. I literally could not get up. It took me 5 years to put myself back together.
Wow.
It's kind of like the universe, you know, said, okay, if you want to get up, you need to listen up. And so I did. I listened really hard, and that's when I was introduced to the things like teachings of the masters and those kinds of things, really delving into the truth of who I was. And I learned a lot about nutrition because I had to put my body back together. And then I became a personal trainer because I needed to you know, move my body in healthy ways. Prior to that, I kind of tried to beat myself into the ground, you know, have my body do a certain thing or conform to what I think it should look like or whatever. So I learned healthy ways of eating, of exercising, and I delved into energy work at that time as well and became a Reiki master. And upon moving back to Iowa, became a transformational prayer practitioner, searching still and really diving in deep. And then a few years ago, I was led to Awaken Coaching, and that led me to Essence Coaching, where I help people really get in touch with the essence of who they are, so they're living from the core of their being. And as I'm doing that, I'm really realizing that my specialty is about clarity, because I can really just see that, and I can help someone get to that point. It's not like me telling anybody anything. I help them discover the answers from within in a unique way, so that as they work with me, they have tools to keep doing that and get clarity for their next steps in their evolution, whatever their situation may be. That whole process has allowed me to free myself to be who I really am, and I've reclaimed my power, not only from that incident in my teens, which I gave all my power to, but also from my mother, because that was a real traumatic thing. And now, yeah, we're probably going to talk about this, but I'll just go ahead and say something about it. now that I've had the experience this past year of her stepping into early dementia and all kinds of things surrounding that, I've gone through the house with her, going through belongings from 50 years and whatever, asking lots of questions and getting clarities. And I've gotten perspectives that I didn't have before. And I was able to speak up because I was more who I am. I was able to speak up and really ask questions I wanted the answers to, like what really happened around this thing or that thing. And I got to see what's happened with my parents' relationships. And, you know, it wasn't always pretty to hear those things. I spent many sleepless nights tossing and turning and really processing it and whatever. But it's led me to even more clarity about myself. And it also led me to a more compassionate place and a forgiving place around my mother. I was able to forgive myself and also her because I saw what she was going through. And of course, now that I see even more with the dementia, it's so, you know, it's heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. So maybe to come from a different place in being with her, which is great, because I can step back from the day-to-day, what she perceives as crisis, you know, everything is crisis now. Step back from that piece, but still be in a space of love with her and support her and allow her to have as much dignity as she can through this process. So that's kind of a nutshell of what's happened in my life, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, there's so much in there. It's such a full story. I love that you talk about the journey taking a long time, you know, and there's sort of a triggering event, and then many, many other things happen, and then you go on a search, and then your body falls apart, and you have to learn all these new things that lead you to the next thing, and those lead you to where you are today. And I love that, because so often I think we want things to happen fast. We want to know, like, what's my purpose right now? How do I get out of pain right now? Mm-hmm. And to just really allow things to unfold in a beautiful, organic way.
Mm-hmm. And that has led me to really learn and practice, as I'm still learning and practicing, patience. It's a biggie. It's a biggie with myself, and it's also a biggie now that my mom is going through what she's going through. Mm-hmm. It can be frustrating. You never know quite who you're dealing with. You know, it's a kind of a dance. Is it my mom I'm talking to, or is there something else that's kind of taken over here? So it's really a lot of deep breathing and learning patience. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when we spoke on the phone, you had mentioned that when I talked about this series and grief, what came up for you was the grief you're currently experiencing in this situation with your mother. And I really do want to address that, because it's such a common situation right now with people taking care of elderly parents. So can you elaborate a little bit more on what's happening for you in this moment?
Well, it's like I said, it's a dance, and there's a whole range of emotions that come into play every time I speak with her or see her. And oftentimes I'll leave there, not that she sees this, I wait till I get in the car, but I leave there in tears, because my mother is not my mother really anymore. I'm more the parent, and I will never have that place to come home to again. Not only is my childhood home gone, we sold that, but even being with my mother, it's different. There is no real intimacy I can't really share with her like I used to, because she's so focused on whether she's cold or hot or what hurts or this or that there's really no conversation there. So it's like losing someone gradually, and it's painful. It's very painful. And yet I really try to do my breathing, staying in my heart, grounding into the earth with that nurturing energy, so that I can be as much loving energy as possible. But I do grieve the loss of a mother's love, because she's not able to express it and be with that in the ways that she was before. Not that we had a perfect relationship at all, but even the ways that she was able to express it in her limited way as she was, with me, growing up and everything, that's not possible. So it's kind of it's like a slow death in a way, and that's a bit agonizing. It's a bit agonizing, and I have no brothers and sisters, so it's just me. And so sometimes that can be, I can talk with friends or whatever, but they're not really there. I mean, they listen, but it's not the same as having someone else who's going through it.
Yeah. Wow. It makes me tear up just hearing you talk about that loss of a mother's love, because it's so fundamental and deep. It's just, wow, it's huge. It's huge to be in that position.
And it's really lucky that we have our memories. It's like, I know intellectually she loves me. It's not that. But it's just those interchanges, those little small things that happen that no longer happen.
And how do you mentioned deep breathing and grounding. How do you take care of yourself in this?
Well, I do practice a lot of deep diaphragmatic breathing. I just recently learned, I guess what I'm going to call, for me, the most recent best way to do that, really filling the lungs and then holding the breath and then exhaling without allowing my spine to move. I first practiced that on the floor, and then I'm learning to do that. But I'm starting my days that way, and I'm ending my days that way. And then when I'm with her, I find that as the more I practice that, I'm able to do it in her presence to help me calm myself. And then I do call upon Mother Earth. I'm very close to her. I grew up on a farm, and Mother Earth is very special to me. So I do call in her energy from the bottoms of my feet all the way through me into that nurturing, and it grounds me. It's a solid energy, and there's a knowingness with that for me that she's got my back. So I feel that through me. And then I do try to rest as often as possible through these, especially when I come home. I'll take walks in nature a lot, because I just give it to the earth and walk and ask for guidance and help. And I'm with the trees. The trees are my friends. And that helps. And I try to keep myself on a regular schedule of sleep so that I'm getting to sleep by about 10 o'clock at night. If I get too far off that, I find I am emotionally imbalanced, and that does not help me in my life or in dealing with my mother and whatever comes up. So those are the main things. And, of course, drinking plenty of water. I'm really trying to practice that. I'm not so great at that. And eating balanced meals. I'm trying to do more protein and vegetables, and a lot of more raw vegetables and fresh vegetables than I was before. And that helps. So basics, going back to the basics.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I love that you're talking about breathing and sleep and food and, gentle exercise in nature, because I think so often when we think self-care, we think, oh, I have to do something more elaborate. And yet those basics are so fundamental to our well-being, and practicing them on a regular basis.
And another thing I try to schedule in is at least one outing a week with a friend. So that I'm doing something that has nothing to do with work or my mother or anything else. We just go have lunch or go see a movie or go to a dance, whatever. Something that's fun, that's totally unrelated. So that I have a break, an emotional and physical break from everything.
And it's so important to be in community. Yeah. Community with our friends, but also it's helpful, like you say, from what I understood that you said, you don't have a real community of people who are going through the same thing right now, and that is that's also really helpful for people to find, is that community of people who understand that.
Yeah, I was thinking I should maybe start a blog about this or something. I know the doctor that we're dealing with said to me privately that she sees a lot of various people going through this. She needs to bring us together. I said, well, I wish she would, but she, doesn't have time to really put that together. So that's something that just came to me right now. I maybe start a blog about this so we can share. And I can really get that out and know that they're supported and there's someone that's going through the same thing. It helps to know that you're not the only one, and that whatever you're feeling is normal or not unusual.
Well, definitely let me know if you start the blog or a Facebook group or anything like that, because I think I think that would be a wonderful thing to put out in the world, because it is what so many people are going through right now with the aging parents.
It's like parenting a parent, you become the parent.
Yeah. Ugh, I do not look forward to it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure that, there's growth in everything. There's learning in everything. There are lessons in everything. And you've spoken a little bit about how helpful it has been in many ways. But being human, we still have that pain that we don't.
It's also helped me with my relationships, because I've seen how she has interacted with me, and I've gotten clarity about what our relationship dynamics was and why that was, and how I internalized that, and I've been able to let a lot of stuff go. And that has been affecting my relationships with others. I'm more open, my heart is more wide, and I'm able to relax in relationship in a different way. And I also see the patterning of the relationships I've had with men and how that occurred, because now I know more about my mother and father's relationship dynamics. I'm like, oh, that explains a whole lot to me. So I've gotten lots of clarities, lots of gifts. It's just sometimes it's not very pleasant to go through. So I really tend to see, I'm a very positive person. I tend to see everything as a gift, feeling and believing that anybody that we meet, there's a reason, they have a gift for us and we have one for them if we're willing to be open and listen and are present to that. So I realize it is a gift. Our journeys are always gifts, and our parents are gifts to us just as we are to them. And just like I said, sometimes it's not real comfortable.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
Speaking of gifts, I'm going to segue a little bit here, because you are offering a gift to the first 5 people to email you. Is that correct?
Yes, I thought I would like to offer, I opened it up in my schedule, 5 places for clarity sessions. And so your listeners could just email me and put Transformation Talk. I think that's the name of your show. Transformation Talk in the subject line, and then I'll just send them an email with the scheduler. They can choose a time that's convenient for them, and we'll just dive into whatever's up for them, and we'll just have fun taking a look at that and getting clarity around it. They'll leave with some tools that they can use, and they can just email me at Maryann, which is MARYANN, at MaryannHesse.com.
And just so people know too, I'll be in touch with you. So when those 5 spots have filled, I will put that on the blog so that people don't keep emailing you.
Okay.
But thank you. That sounds wonderful. It sounds like something I could use too.
Well, I really endeavor to live my life from a space of service. So starting my day from really engaging that heart energy, which is the love, which is our highest vibration, and bringing in the nurturing earth energy. And then from there, going about whatever I do in my day, just being with the awareness of how can I serve without any particular agenda, whoever I meet or whoever I'm talking to, really listening deeply to whatever they're sharing and within myself as to how could I serve this person. And so from there, my life is becoming much, much richer, and it's more expansive. Really, I'm enjoying my life a lot more than I was just a few years ago. Isn't life amazing? I mean, it's such a wonderful gift.
It is. It's unbelievable. And when we are able to shift our brains so that we're not, because we're hardwired to see the negative, and when we're able to do the work to shift to see the positive, it just changes so much. So much.
Yeah, I'm part of a gratitude project right now. There's 30 days of gratitude that started November 1st, and we, many of us contributed a video to that. So each day we answer a question and create the video, and just focusing on gratitude, even for the smallest things, like I have a chair to sit on and a nice soft cushion. I mean, it sounds really simple, but when you're really truly grateful for something, it opens up an energy that just brings amazing things into your life.
It does. when Benjamin was stillborn, that was my sort of one of the practices that I clung to, was every night as I went to bed, really thinking of all the things that I was grateful for, so that those were the last thoughts I had as I fell asleep, rather than focusing on the pain and the grief. And it really helped me through.
Yeah. Oftentimes, if I'm troubled by something, I'll do the ABCs. You know, I'll go through the alphabet. I'm grateful for apples and bananas and you know, chocolate or something. You know, as I go through the alphabet, and usually before I get to Z, I'm asleep.
That's great. I've never heard of doing it that way. I like that. That's really fun. Okay, so I have 3 questions that I finish with, but first, because you talk so much about clarity, I wanted to know if there was any way that you see clarity really informing the grief journey.
Well, what I find as I work with people, there's all kinds and forms of grief. It may be that someone in their life did transition. That may, you know, that's right up front there. And as we go through looking at that, they can see the dynamics of their relationship in a different way, like kind of like I'm doing with my mom. Mm-hmm. And that helps them through the grief process to celebrate things that they might not have celebrated about the person's life, which allows them a different perspective and a different depth, I would say, or breadth to the process. And also, as we go through whatever I'm doing with someone, they find that as they go through the processes with me and we look at what's in the way of various things they want to do in their lives, there's a grieving of something that happened in their life. Mm-hmm. So we go to an event and we look at that, what happened, and the clarity around that helps them to let it go, because they're able to see a perspective of it. A lot of times it happened as a small child. And so as an adult, they can look at it, be with the child, do some things energetically, we do some things with that and whatever, and they're able to love that. And so they shift it, but with all the clarities of what the dynamics were, they're able to shift it and actually bring it to a space of love and transform it, as well as letting go of all that negativity. It's just, I don't know, to me, clarity is the key pretty much to anything. When you can get clear about a decision or how you're feeling about something or whatever, it's like, well, yeah, you know, when you're from this other perspective of a higher vibration, it's just crystal clear. It's often like looking on the situation, maybe from another level, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And it's just crystal clear. And then your stress kind of just drops away about it. It's like, oh, well, of course. And then there's no wavering. Because a lot of times we'll make a decision about something and then we'll second guess ourselves.
Go back and forth.
Yeah. From this space, it's like, no, you're totally confident. This, of course, is the best thing. And then if someone questions us, we could just solidly into, no, that was the best thing for me. And we remain in our power. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that, I was kind of all over the map there, but that's some of the experiences that happen.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that grief is such a part of all coaching and all therapy, and anytime anyone is looking for that kind of support, grief does tend to come up, and I love the way you talk about it.
Yeah, because there's deep sadness oftentimes that comes when you get in touch with some of those things, and you can let those go. Of course, the tears help as well, and then we can expand that energy and dissipate it. I mean, it's just so much great stuff that can be brought into play that helps someone really quickly move through those things. It's not like you have to be in agony over something. Like if something comes up, it's not like you just spend hours and hours and hours and days and days and days in that energy. Mm-hmm. Which is good news to me. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of my life, you know, days and weeks and months in agony, and never mind. Yeah. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, that's something I've very much come to appreciate, is the sort of the more I grow in my capabilities, and I think the energy healing really helps this, is the painful things still come up, but I move through them much more quickly than I used to.
And then that also takes away the fear of encountering something. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, the knowledge of, well, yeah, it may be painful for a little bit, but I can always move through fairly quickly, so I can handle it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Rather than be afraid to feel it.
Right, right. Absolutely. Okay, so my final 3 questions. If you could wave a magic wand and change anything about the world right now, what would it be?
It would be that every single individual is living from their own personal power, their essence, and playing their note, as I call it. They're living their purpose and playing their note. Because imagine if everyone were playing their note, we would hear this amazing symphony playing on the planet. We would be at peace. We would have harmony. We would have heaven on earth if everyone were playing their note.
That's a lovely image.
Mm-hmm.
What brings you the most joy in your life right now?
Oh, really facilitating women to reclaim their power. And when they realize it, you know, the celebration and the joy within themselves, and then they go forward to give their gifts fully. It's just so amazing, because it was like the light turns on in them. The spark comes back. They're alive again. And that's just such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure when they realize that. It's like, oh, and it's like they just start smiling. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really fun to be on the other side of that.
Yeah.
You know, as someone helping to facilitate that.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, what is one fun or unique fact about you that most people wouldn't know?
Most people don't realize that I love to cook, and I love to entertain and have dinner parties. I rarely do it, but it's something that I dearly love to do. It's that wonderful homey feeling as people come together and you smell the various smells of things cooking or the tea boiling or whatever it might be. And I think holidays kind of bring that to the fore a little more for me. But it's something I really enjoy. And as I envision my life, because I'm always envisioning the next phases of my life, that's very much in there. So it's something I'm moving into. And people don't really realize that about me. Because usually when I go to potlucks, it's something real quick and easy. And, you know, whatever, I just grab something because I'm usually not cooking that much. But I really love it.
What's your favorite dish if you had to pick one that if you had the time? You would make?
Oh, my favorite dish would be a dessert, which is raw chocolate mousse.
Yum.
It is lethal.
Yeah.
Made with raw cacao and avocados. Oh my gosh. It's heaven. It's heaven.
Yes. I'm a big fan of the raw desserts too. So good. All right, well, thank you so much, Maryann. I will have, again, as I said, all the information for people to find you and the information on your gift on the blog so that people can access it really easily. And I so appreciate you being here with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to being of service to anyone who wishes to contact me. Have a fabulous day. I just want to end with the namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.